like this particular car was like, it was basically a track car. So it had a roll bar. I think it had like KWV3s or Olin's coilovers. Tons of camber, sticky tires, and an exhaust. And it was loud, uncomfortable, grabbed a lot of attention, which are things that I try to avoid. But I just loved it. Like the experience, like you just feel so connected.
All right, hey guys, this is Nau and welcome back to the KodaCast.
Now it doesn't like The Office. There's a serious problem.
This is a podcast where we get to document our journey of our passion project, Kodawari Collective. On this podcast, it is my aim to share our story and the stories of people we meet along the way. In doing so, we hope to inspire our audience to cultivate a growth mindset and to build a life around their passion. Today's guest, I think, is a story that you are familiar with because he's back for round 2. We have Kaval in the house.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Just here. Nice room. Hearing why you don't like The Office that much. just bugging you. Just bugging you.
The Office is amazing. It's
a good show.
It's a show that brings a lot of happiness into a lot of people's lives. So there's what's there to hate, man? There's not.
You just don't want to watch it more than once. That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I just
do you really like The Office though? Like if you only want to watch it once, I don't know, man. It just feels like you just need to get it out of the way at that point.
Well, you should. Well, have you seen our one continuous shot video? That was inspired from The Office. Yeah, that was one of our YouTube videos that we put together. That was like where we're actually very proud of.
I'll have to check it out. I'm embarrassed to say that I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
so
man.
you know that one scene in The Office where the intro is them doing one continuous shot through the shop, and they're doing like they're lip syncing to a song.
Okay. Yep.
And they're like just introducing everyone. Everyone's it's for like some contest that they entered, something like that.
Yeah, it was a contest.
But we did something similar to that.
Okay. Was that like Sherry's inspiration? Like was that her?
No, that was actually Josh's inspiration. One of our
Sherry
content
need to step
creators.
it up.
But she was very passionate about
Awesome.
executing something like that.
That's good, man. That's good. So how are things with you guys?
Pretty good. Can you tell by my mustache? What do you think?
Do you have a magnifying glass? Take a look. No.
You want to count?
It looks good. You know what? You got some nice stray hairs there, and it's starting to come together really well. It's good. It's good. I mean, it's for a good cause.
I look at myself in the mirror every morning because I never grow out my mustache, and I have a good chuckle in the morning.
I think it suits you.
Yeah.
I think it suits you. Like when I walked in, it didn't even it didn't strike me. Honestly, I thought you always had it.
My dad has a serious mustache,
Oh,
so
sweet.
I've never been one to. I never thought I could grow one, but who knows, right? It's November, men's health awareness.
Super important.
We're gonna be raising money. That's what we're doing, man.
That's good, man. That's what you have to do. That's what you have to do.
But yeah, we've been good.
Yeah,
We've been good. It's been almost a year. You were here last in December.
So we'll call it a year because we're halfway through this month now, I think. So yeah, it's been nice to see you guys kind of grow and find your bearings and do a lot more PPF jobs and stuff. So that's been nice to see. I saw that Model Y in the back. It looked pretty good.
Yeah,
you guys should be proud.
Yeah, we just completed front end PPF on a Model Y, full ceramic coating. It was an interesting project because this was our first attempt at trying to complete a project for a customer within a timeline, as well as trying to put together a video.
Yeah,
so
that's super tough.
Yeah, so it was a lot of planning, and we had 3 days with the car, and it was just trying to work with both the content team and the service team to get the shots that they need to kind of work with each other. And the guys did a great job.
That's good to have it done in 3 days with the work. It's good. It usually takes me about 2.5 to 3 days in the shop to do like a full front polish and a coating if it's just me.
Yeah, the car came in straight from Tesla.
Okay.
So we had to assess the paint, do a single stage polish on whichever areas,
Yeah.
whatever marring there was on the paint.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, it was cool to see everyone kind of pull together,
Mhm.
because I've been pounding it into these guys, and I've been pounding it into myself, is like
Yeah.
the thing that we want to be known for is not our our excellence in detailing or content creation. I told them, like, I want us to be known for our excellence in teamwork
Yeah.
first. That's
Yeah.
going to be our foundation,
Yeah.
and everything else will kind of
Fall into place.
exactly.
Yeah.
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 Once we
No,
have
totally
that,
agree.
once we have like that mindset of just having each other's backs, learning, growing, striving for to do things well, yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah. Yeah. Car. I mean, I took a look at it. It looks pretty good. That tri-coat red pops, man.
Yeah.
It really pops.
Yeah, no, I
Wait
liked
till you
it.
get it in the sun. It looks crazy in the sun.
Yeah, so the guy's gonna be dropping it off. So they're gonna be driving a Model Y for the first time. I'm
Oh,
sure
nice.
Steven and David will have a good time.
That EV experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We recently had a friend of ours, Josh, come in for a podcast. He's a
Yep.
Gold certified tech at Porsche Oakville.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Nice.
Josh was amazing. He brought a Taycan Turbo S,
Oh, those things are sick.
and that was our first time sitting in. It was Sherry, myself, Nick, and Josh all jumped in the car,
Yeah.
went for a rip.
It's fast, eh?
It's crazy fast.
That instant torque is insane.
It like, yeah, it just gives you like that butterfly feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're not used to it, and that was our first time sitting in an electric car,
Yeah.
and just to see how Porsche executes their
They did
electric
a
car.
really good job with that car. Because you get the Porsche build quality,
Mm-hmm.
which is really hard to beat. You get a lot of like the nice driving dynamics of a Porsche.
Yeah.
And then you get the benefits of electric life.
Yeah,
You know?
it's like the founder of Porsche. He was like, no one makes a car like I want, so
Yeah,
I'm gonna go out and make it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So now hopefully they're taking that same thinking with electric cars. They're like, yeah, so we're obviously heading into electrification. This is our take
Yeah.
on what an electric car should feel like.
Yeah.
The spirit, the driving experience, the emotional connection, right?
I was watching one of Savage Geese's videos this week.
I love his content, man.
Yeah, his content's
So
great.
good.
Like it's so, a lot of people say it's like kind of dry and whatever, but I love it. It's to the point. It's full of information, lots of detail. But I think they had a Panamera in there, and he was talking about how when you've got a manufacturer like Porsche that is really at the pinnacle of their engineering, and then they get into a new realm, the outcome is just amazing. And that's kind of like how it is with what you're saying earlier. Once you get your foundation right, anything else you do with that foundation has this inherent level of success with it, right?
Yeah.
So you see that with these big car companies, and that's one of the things that I thought about with Tesla. Like early on was, they're a new car manufacturer. Like as a detailer, like you see the little things in the build quality that tells you that they have a long ways to go. I mean, they're doing great. Their build quality is improving every year. But when you take a company like Porsche or Toyota, who has very, very, very high standards in manufacturing quality and consistency, and they get into the EV game, everything just happens a lot faster, right? And I feel like the adoption rate will drastically increase. I think I saw Toyota actually announced this like I'm probably butchering the name, but it's like BZX4 or something like that. It's like a totally electric looking like mini kind of SUV. We'll see how that goes, but yeah.
Do you follow a lot of car news?
Not really.
Or
I
just here and there, just here and there when it comes, like when you have some time?
Yeah, like one of my friends works for Toyota. He's pretty high up there, and so I pay attention to what he posts. I have a lot of respect for him. So whenever he posts stuff up, I really do pay attention. But there's just so much like noise everywhere, right? And I think that news can be in some ways labeled as noise. So I try to drown out as much of that as I can, or be very selective on what noise I take in. So I mean, the stuff that excites me is like seeing the new Civic Type R, the new GT4 RS, like that, like stuff like that. I'm just like, all right, yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty sick.
So what do you think about
Don't ask me about the Integra, man.
No. We're not even. We
That's like, yeah, it's not even worth.
No, I want to talk about the Civic Type R
Yeah,
because your dad has one.
which he wants to sell. I just,
Yeah, your dad has one, and now they've come up with the
11th
upcoming
gen.
11th gen.
yeah,
And so far, I don't know if you've watched Savage Geese's review of the 11th gen Civic. It's awesome.
got tons of promise.
Yeah, they're saying they nailed it in terms of
Yeah.
just the aesthetics, in terms of the quality of the interior, how
Yeah.
it feels, in terms of the practicality,
Yeah.
and the foundation of the chassis, and how
Yeah.
there's potential to have performance variance.
Yeah, I think that like it'll be really interesting to see how the 11th gen does, because the styling of the tension was so polarizing for a lot of people, and I didn't really, I mean, when I saw it I was like, oh cool, it looks, it's obviously very busy, but you drive it and you're like, okay, cool. Like whenever I drive new cars, I start to really appreciate the chassis a lot more than just like the looks. And the FK8 is a great example of that, because people still rag on that car. It's been out since what, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
People still rag on the styling, but when you drive that thing, it drives so well. Like Honda did such a great job on that car. So if they take the all of like the good parts of the 10th gen FK8 and they bring that into the 11th gen, I think it's just going to be insane.
Man, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
And I mean, the renderings look really good. I find like I'm at a stage in my life where my tastes are starting to shift. Like I like the more subtle, kind of like understated look. Yeah. Like sort of like how the old Type R variants were, like the EK9 and then the DC2. Like you could tell it's a Type R by looking at it, but it's visually not that different from the base model. And like the FK8 Type R was just drastically different from like the base hatch, right? So in that sense, it was very like they really went against the grain of what normal Type R branding looks like. But it'll be nice to see what the 11th gen comes out looking like. 'Cause so far it looks kind of like more of what my taste is.
Yeah, man, because I'm trying to. I always love trying to putting my
Your own spin.
my lens on what the engineers and what their brand, like the Honda, was thinking, right? Because
Yeah.
you're looking at the 10th gen, first time coming to North America.
Yeah.
That's a big market, huge market.
Yeah.
What do North Americans want to see out of a Type R?
Mm-hmm.
Do they want to see like something over the top with, carbon side skirts and a big wing and tons of vents and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And they just went for it.
Yeah.
Thank goodness that car was an amazing car, because the looks alone was, like you said, very polarizing, and a lot of people didn't buy the car because of the looks.
Loss.
So it was kind of back and forth with the looks. It's still an issue, and I'm kind of glad I kind of got a black one, because it kind of mutes everything and makes it a little bit more subtle.
Yeah.
So now that Honda's learned a lot from that experiment, they've revised it, went back to the drawing board, and now the camel version that they released to the world, it looks sick. It looks really good. I cannot wait.
I see they have got 265s on there now as opposed to the 245s that come stock. So that extra 20 mil of
is it still
tire
20s?
Contact patch.
Still 20 inch?
I can't remember.
It looks like
It looks probably
it's probably 20s.
It's a bigger car. It's basically, I mean, I can't remember what car reviewer did a review of the new Civic, and during the video they switched out the Civic for an Accord. Was it Throttle House? I can't remember, but it was funny.
Like the older Accord?
Well, I guess the gen of the Accord that is consistent with the year of the Civic.
Yeah.
It was super funny, but that the reason they did that was to illustrate the point that this thing is big like an Accord, right? So it'll be interesting to see how they get such a large car to handle well.
Yeah.
So
No, I have no doubt that it's gonna handle very well.
even the SI has got my attention. Like I might end up getting an 11th gen. I don't know what, an SI or a Type R.
Do you
Depending on
do you
how
want a hatch though? Do you care about the hatch?
I'm not partial. I mean, I do like the hatch, like the practicality of the hatch, but I'm fine with a regular sedan. So,
Yeah, having a hatch is just
it's great, man.
it's amazing.
When I was dailying my EK, like having a hatch, like it was the best.
Yeah.
Just the amount of crap you can toss in the back of that thing is
Yeah,
insane.
man. Especially, if you got stuff to haul, especially if you potentially, start a family, it's you need that practicality,
Yeah,
right? And
for
as car
sure.
guys, you
For
have
sure.
to be anticipate that, and I use that as
Find your balance.
I use that as a card that I play. I'm like, Sherry, we need, we gotta get a hatch, right?
All the cards are out, eh?
Yeah, we gotta get a hatch because we can throw Anderson in, throw all the luggage in, and
Yep.
go wherever we need to, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
um,
Oh, it's super helpful. Super helpful.
but speaking about
Cars.
big Hondas,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about little Hondas, small Hondas. You've recently added uh, a very special car to the to the stable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you wouldn't sell me your S2000 as much as I pestered you online and sent you random messages on WhatsApp. I was like, all right, this guy's not gonna sell me his S2000. I guess I'll have to find my own.
well, do you understand why now?
I do totally. Yeah. So last month, actually, so it's kind of a funny story, but so I've been working on tons of S2000s this past year. I think just
Yeah, a lot.
lots of like enthusiast cars that are just going up in value. I've been doing a lot of those cars. So like C6s, even C7s, S2000s, 911s. I even did like a couple of Miatas, like just these enthusiast cars that are just jumping up in value. So many S2000s came through my shop this year, and I was like, yo, these things are like taunting me, man. Like, and then one of my clients brought me his AP2. It was real yellow, and we did a full front end on it. And while I was prepping the panels and wiping all the edges, like the paint was coming off, and I was like, oh great. So because he had told me he just had the front end like resprayed. So I took it to John at ABM Auto Center, and just I obviously asked the client if I can drive it. He said yeah. So I just to drive down the highway, like a 10-minute shot down the highway. And just sitting in that car, I was like, all right, now I understand. Like
Was
it's
that
not,
your first time driving it?
that was my first time driving an S2000 without the purpose of like moving it around or whatever. It's
Yeah.
just like just sitting in the car enjoying it for that 10-minute drive. And it was like this particular car was like it was basically a track car. So it had a roller bar. I think it had like KWV3s or Olin's coilovers. Tons of camber, sticky tires, and an exhaust. And it was loud, uncomfortable, grabbed a lot of attention, which are things that I try to avoid. But I just loved it, like the experience. Like you just feel so connected to the car, and I mean I've got a '90s era Honda where I think that's probably the pinnacle of connectedness to the car. But this thing was on another level. So I kept like telling the owner, I was like, man, like thanks so much for letting me drive the car, even though I was doing it for him to take it to the body shop to have a look at it. I felt so happy to have experienced that finally, and it was just amazing. Like I've been in an S2000 on track like many years ago as a passenger, and even that was amazing. So I was like, all right, like the fire is even more lit now. So one of my other S2000 customers dropped off a set of wheels that he wanted ceramic coated, and he wasn't in a rush, so he's just like, yeah, like you can keep them in your shop. I said, all right, whenever you're ready, let me know, and I'll get them done and ready for you. So they sat in my shop for a few months, and then he calls me one day. He's like, hey, did you ceramic coat the wheels yet? And I said no. He's like, all right, don't, because I'm gonna sell the car. And I was like, whoa, hold up. So we ended up talking for a while, back and forth, and yeah, we ended up striking a deal, and I bought the car.
Damn.
Yeah, yeah. So pretty happy.
Congratulations,
Thanks,
man.
man. Yeah. So it's I've enjoyed, for the most part, I've enjoyed driving it. Like it's a car that at least I feel you need to take in relatively small doses. Um,
What do you mean by that?
like using it every day for like a daily driver, I don't think I can do that.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just it's loud, and it's not loud in like an exhaust annoying way. It's just like you hear the diff, you hear the drive shaft, like you hear just it's hard to even have a conversation in the car. You know, you're cruising at highway speeds, and it's like whoa,
The
yeah.
car that you bought, what mods were on it?
So the car's basically stock, except it's got a roll bar, and bushings, and brake ducts. So stock suspension, stock exhaust, stock intake, like stock. So that was one of the reasons I really gravitated towards that car, was because like everything that was done to that car was done with a very, very singular mindset and they were all high quality stuff. So it wasn't like I was just gonna strip the whole car down, which ironically is what I'm gonna be doing now. So, so yeah.
So you're gonna strip it down to do what? What's the plan?
Yeah, so I mean, from what I'm told, because I don't have a lot of experience with the car, from what I've told, like it's not necessarily like a smooth riding car. I didn't expect it to be, but this car is like really rough.
Like the
Um,
suspension?
yeah, it's stiffer than like when I go over bumps and stuff. It crashes hard, it's my EK with my fully track focused suspension is more comfortable than the S2000, and a lot of it is because of the car had like polyurethane bushings installed, like a full master bushing kit, and I think that just like killed the ride quality of the car. Poly bushings are just a terrible material to use in a car. So so we're going to be redoing all the bushings in the car, even though they're relatively new. I just hate the way the car drives with poly bushings. I don't know if they were installed correctly or whatever, but it feels like the car's riding on bushings as opposed to a shock and a spring.
This is the EK or the
Yeah,
S2000?
the S2000.
S2000.
So so I ordered a hard race kit from Stage Four. Shout out to Chris. Actually, it's Chris' birthday today, so happy birthday, Chris.
Happy birthday, Chris.
You'll probably get to meet him eventually, and if you need any hard race stuff, you should definitely talk to him. So yeah, but yeah. So I ordered the full master bushing kit from Chris. That came in this week. So slowly, I'm just gonna start replacing all the bushings on the car. I just want to do things like one at a time and just see like how just same thing with the EK, like how things have one little thing, how it changes the car, just so I understand what each thing does on that car. So once the bushings are done, then probably wheels and tires. I need to get you to price me out on some Mita wheels, and other than that, I think that's it. Just the detail. Probably wrap the car in PPF. Yeah.
Are you eventually gonna get suspension for the car?
I want to. I was looking at either Olin's, or even there's a company out in Cali called Annex Suspension, and they did a set of coilovers for the 8th gen that Speed Academy did for me, and I was very impressed with that stuff. So I might get a set from them too. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, the stock suspension is still quite good, and that's honestly why the previous owner left it. So I think once I've explored the limits of the car, and I feel like I've outgrown the stock suspension, then I'll go for a set of coilovers.
Cool. Yeah.
Slowly.
I think yeah, I've never got a chance to try out the stock suspension
Yep.
because the one
Oh yeah, yours
that we
came
bought
with
with
KWs,
KWs, right?
yeah.
So it rides so good.
Yeah, we
It's
should swap cars.
it's oh man, I don't know. it's one of those cars where the way you describe it being like harsh and feeling it like it's riding on bushings, like my car is like the total opposite.
Yeah.
It's so supple.
Actually,
It's
when
so,
Shazzy had that car,
yeah.
he took me for a ride. Now that I remember it, yeah, that car drove very, very well.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna jump into a quick break.
Cool.
All right, guys, we're back. And what do you think about our Hello Kitty decoration in here? Does that set the tone?
I'm indifferent, but I think it's got some nice pink. My niece would love it. She'd be like, "Ooh, pink." Maybe I should steal that towel from you. She's just like, chill. There's a line. And you crossed it.
you're in Koda Sound, yo. There's a gatekeeper here that
I like that the sun comes through and like illuminates the colors. You know, makes me feel very calm. You know, is there some feng shui stuff happening here with that? See, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I come into this room and Sherry's bundled up in a blanket. She's like, it's cold. I'm like, oh my god. Yeah, there are a few people in here that are kind of sensitive to temperature.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have like heat coming in. They have like their own personal
Heater on top.
Yeah,
Wow.
like it's extra.
Need to eat some foods that are warming.
I tell them to. How about you guys do some exercise, run around a little bit, get that heart, that blood flowing,
Yeah,
so
for
that you
real.
don't rape the electricity bill.
Yeah, it'll cost you.
Right? I feel like such a dad saying that, eh? Like, guys, turn off the fucking lights.
Bro, honestly, man, like being an employer sometimes is really not just providing employment and skills and challenges and stuff, but a little bit of babysitting too.
Oh yeah.
And it's not babysitting in the wrong way. It's like I want to see you become better. Like I want to be. It's not like I'm not proud of you, but like I just want to see you grow. I just want to see you, embrace like good habits and good health and stuff, right? So
That's a big thing, man. That's
Yeah,
a big
man.
thing, and I think that's a good transition in over to
employees in the last year.
just talking about the year that we've just had. I know, like this is a topic that is very very interesting to me.
Yeah,
I put a lot of time and effort
certainly
into trying to understand like the psychology and the dynamics of what makes a good team,
Yeah.
what makes a good leader.
Yeah.
Like it's just fascinating to me because the dreams that I have for Kodawari, I know I can't do that alone.
Yeah, they necessitate a team,
Yeah.
right? A family, really.
And I know that there are a lot of like core missions that I have with Kodawari, and that's helping other people, bring people along for the ride.
Yeah.
And how do I navigate these waters where I help people grow, and we build healthy relationships and all that, right? So
Yeah.
I know you've been a solo act for a long time.
I've had some help here and there, but more or less, like it's been solo.
Mm-hmm. And you recently, over the past year, added a team member. I just want to kind of pick your brain as to like what challenges did you face?
Yeah.
It's hard, man.
Yeah,
It's working
yeah.
with and having people underneath your wing. It's tough. It's no easy task.
It's I mean that particular individual is no longer with me. But it was definitely it was definitely a good experience. It's very difficult to really sum all of it up because there's still so many things that you learn while employing someone and even after, like part ways, right? The amount of knowledge and the amount of insight that I got just into myself was very, very good because this would have been my third employee. And you learn something new with every single employee, not just because not only because you're growing as a person, but because your business is always evolving, right? So, like for example, if I were to think about my first guy, he would fit very well in the current landscape of Make It Shine. Um, so it really depends on like where you are as a person, where you are in your business, where you see your business going. I just felt like I needed help because I was at a point where I just can't do everything. I can't do everything by myself. I get you know, you start taking inventory of your triggers and your stresses, and you realize, at least for me, that what stressed me out the most was not being able to do everything that I wanted to do, not just with life, but like, you know, like sometimes I didn't even have a chance to reply, sit down and even spend 20 minutes replying to, you know, phone calls or voicemails or an email or whatever, right? Like if you check my phone at any given time, I probably got about 50 to 60 unread, like, you know, emails or texts. And it's just not who I want to be to my clientele. And you know, for my clients that know me, they know that it's no ill intention. It's not like I'm blowing everybody off. It's because I'm legitimately working. Like I feel that if your car has made it into my shop, your car deserves my full attention. And but you can't, like you can be that worker, but you can't run your business like that at the same time, right? And I've known that for years, but I've just been managing everything. And you know, maybe I'm getting older now, and I just one, I can't do it, and two, I don't want to do it all, because I feel like um, if you want to be proud, like I'm at a point now with my business where I want to stand back and be proud of what I've built, and I can't even take a step back unless I have people there as a team, right? Because then you can cultivate different aspects of how you want your business to grow within those team members. So um, yeah, so we brought a guy on, and yeah, it was good. There was a lot of training. There was a lot of like hard lessons learned. You know, you've always got to change your way of understanding people, understanding how they learn, but also understanding how you understand your work. Because if you only see your work a certain way, and you're trying to convey that to somebody who you're training, and they can't see it, it's not their fault. You have to shift your perspective. So with all three people that I've had with me so far, it's really allowed me to weigh the pros and cons about how I look at my own work, and say like, what's practical, right? What gives my customers what they're paying for, and that really high standard of quality, but yeah, but I can do it in a way that is scalable and allows my employees to build their own good habits, and figure out whether they like something or not. So it's just, yeah, I'm just at that stage now in the business where I just need to scale. And you know, I do enjoy being by myself. I am a person that enjoys being alone. So I don't mind not having help, or I should take that back. I don't mind being alone. But when I take a step back at the business, and I'm like, all right, I want to be able to do this, I want to be able to do that. You can't do that without having a team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I've decided to kind of like take the rest of the year just to kind of like reframe where I want to be and how I want to get there, and how people fit in that, right? And start to really see like there's so many great tools available. Like there's one of the things I'm thinking about adding is a virtual assistant, to handle things like voicemails and social media. Like I have been so inactive on social media this year, and it's been wonderful. I really took it as a little bit of an experiment to see like, is my does my monthly revenue coincide with my social media activity? And I know there's a ton of other factors that influence that, but in my industry, we are most busy in the summer. So I barely posted this summer, and we were busy as hell. In fact, this was probably my best year. Like we doubled our sales over last year, and it was more or less just me the whole year. Like I had somebody with me for 2 or 3 months. But to me, that just reinforced, you know, follow my gut, follow my feeling, that maybe spending or expending so much effort and time, like making posts and stuff like that, is just not serving me, because I've got other more important things to take care of, right?
Yeah.
So with that observation, recently, like I had my sort of like year end meeting with my accountant, and we just went over like everything that we've done differently this year, and a lot of it was just like just kind of just keeping my head down. I mean, I usually I do, but like really keep my head down this time. Like no, like barely any social media activity, and just it's just people don't realize how much work social media is, because it is like for the growing, like for our demographic, who right now is getting older, and for the younger people who are getting older, who we need to capture as well, they acquire so much like of our brand and our image through those channels like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. um, you need to be on your A game with that all the time, and that's a crap ton of work, right? So for me, I was just like, you know what, I have a really good clientele. They know how to reach me. Most of my business is through like referral and word of mouth. So I'm just gonna double down on that and see how that plays out. And it's played out. It's played out great. It's taken so much pressure off of me, where I'm like, oh, I didn't post anything for the week, and I'm just like, man, like I think like 4 months went by and I didn't post anything, and it was great. Like I have tons of content to go through over the winter, and just be very strategic about what I decide to post, and how I do that, and that all ties in with sort of like branding, because I've we've gone through pretty much a full rebrand this year as well, and we have a website being built, um, so yeah, just yeah,
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 no, there's a lot of things that you brought up that really resonate with me because yeah, there's that pressure. There's that pressure of using social media and kind of thinking like, okay, you know what, this is the future. You know, like having a social media presence is very important.
it's paramount for your brand image.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But how do we navigate that in a way that it works for you and who you are in your lifestyle?
yeah,
And you can't apply like the same mold across the board with everyone.
for sure.
And you had an opportunity to run an experiment, right?
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, no matter what changes technology wise, there are a few core principles that will never change. If you do good work, people will find you.
yeah, 100%.
If you take care of people and you build good relationships with your customers, guess what? They tell other customers.
Yeah, yeah.
And you don't need social media for that.
So everything you're saying there, it brings up what we talked about in the first podcast when I came with you, and that's about, like, there's two things: focus on the work, focus on your customer, but those three things can be put into engaging your community, right? If you engage your community, which is the people who you have dealt with in the past, and you show them love in various different ways, they come back to you, right? People get a vibe, and if they like it, they're always going to be back, right? So yeah,
Yeah, no, that's big. It's just kind of like assessing, you know, because as you said, as your business evolves, as you evolve as a human being, things change,
totally,
and
totally.
you need some time to sit back and assess and to try new things and see what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and I think that's a big part of. I think it's something that we don't do enough
Definitely.
is to kind of really ask us, okay, is this for me?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, everyone's you got to do this and you got to do that and you got to do this to be successful. Like,
Yeah.
but how do you define success?
Yeah, man.
What does that mean for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with you. Like, tying back to what I've gone through this year, and I feel like this year's for me has been more of a mental battle than anything, because I'm just sitting back and I'm like, I there's a part of me that didn't feel happy. You know, like even when my accountant told me, he's like, you doubled your sales over last year. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, really? I'm like, it doesn't seem like that. It doesn't feel like that. And when I went back and I looked at the numbers, I was like, yeah, he's right. Like, we made better use of our materials. I was way more efficient with everything, and so I was doing something right, but I didn't feel any happier during the year, right? Like now when I look back on it, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, like we were doing something right, but why did I have this feeling of like non-fulfillment, unhappiness, or and not like I was very grateful. I feel like that is a part of who I am. But I just started to think, I was like, and you know, you and I talked about this on the phone many times this year. Like, there's there's something missing,
Yeah.
right? And that is like I am on a relentless pursuit to find what that is, and just hold on to it. And it's just about finding happiness within yourself, because I always tie it back to the work. And you know, actually, I'll bring up a great example. Last week, one of my friends contacted me. He ordered an RS6, and he's in this like club of all the other RS6 owners. And one guy got his car wrapped in PPF, and he was not happy. So I went to see the car, and like it's a disaster.
That bad, eh?
It's very very bad, very bad. Like there's damage to the car. Nothing's wrapped. Nothing's lined up properly. It's terrible. And I sat back and I'm like, the first thing I thought was like, I was like, what was the mindset of the person that did this film that led them to feel that they were okay with that? Like, it's not just like, oh, he doesn't give a shit. Like, of course he didn't really care, but why was it like that? Like is he unhappy? Does he like what he's doing, or is there a good culture within that? Those are the things I was starting to think about, because like you can fix bad results, right? It's not that hard. But if you can't fix the mindset that led to allowing those bad results to continue throughout a car, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to find, right? I'm trying to avoid the mindset shift, um, to the point where, or to even stop those kinds of things from happening. Like why I that car was so bad. I still can't believe that somebody would let that car go. But there's a reason why, and we need to get ahead of that as business owners.
That's big right there, what you just brought up, because it's when you look at a project like that, you could just be like, man, this guy's obviously does not give a shit, right? And it's so easy to jump to conclusions right away, like, oh yeah, this guy's just a piece of shit. He did he did half-ass work, and that might be right,
But it looks like half-ass work.
yeah.
But that's all we see, right?
Yeah.
But we don't know what's going on behind
Exactly.
the scenes, right?
And I'm very interested in, as a business owner, and as we've come across different teams, come across different working environments, there are a lot more things at play that people need to be considerate of, that affects the result, like that.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like, what was the mindset of that installer? What was the culture at that workplace? What pressures was he under,
Yeah.
that may have led to that? And maybe he's not. Maybe that was the worst day he's had in his life.
Yeah.
And he did that kind of install. Who knows?
Yeah.
That could be true. That could be false.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I've recently come to understand how human we all are. And if we work in a culture that is like, you know what, you have to hit these numbers.
Yeah.
I don't care how you do it.
Yeah.
I don't care if your mom is sick and you're
That's
and you
the world
and
that
you
we live in right
and
now.
you give and you have bills to pay. I don't care what you're going
Yeah.
through in your life. You have to hit these numbers, and that pressure makes people do very, very,
Very-
very
Bad things.
bad things that they wouldn't normally do.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, it's the circumstance.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's something that I really am very curious about. And you kind of putting someone in a culture, in an environment that really promotes the right things,
Yeah.
people blossom. And you can
Yeah.
take someone who you think is like a complete like wreck, and they can transform under
Right circumstances.
the right environment, the right
Yeah.
circumstances, the
Yeah.
right leadership.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And it's those kinds of like big corporation concepts that are actually, to be honest, quite absent in a lot of big corporations that I want to implement into the growth of like my team, my business, my future, whatever endeavors, the people who I speak with, the people who I mentor, the people who I train. It's not just about coming in and showing you how to polish a car or put film on a car. There's so much more to it than that, right?
Yep.
Because they all work together, and this is the thing. Like, people need to realize that like your actions day to day are as a result of this like system, right? This sort of like a mindset. Like the mindset is the system, and you have to like we need to start going deeper within ourselves as people and as business owners so we can understand our faults, our goods, the good qualities, the bad qualities, or not necessarily bad, but the things that don't serve us. And there's just I think the more that you neglect to do that, the higher chance you have of just putting out shit work like that car that I
And
talked about.
and you go through life with a tunnel vision, thinking like just not seeing the wreckage that
Yeah.
you're causing.
Yeah.
And you're like, at one point, hopefully it's not too late where you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And how did I
Yeah.
get here?
Yeah.
And that's big, man. It's something that I'm so passionate about, is understanding, okay, you know what? Our education system isn't perfect. It's amazing. We live in one of the best countries in the world. There should be no complaints from anyone. You know, like we Remembrance Day was not too long ago,
Yeah.
right? There were men and women that went out and sacrificed their lives at a
Yeah,
very
also.
young age
Yeah.
to give us the freedoms that we enjoy here.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that gets forgotten, and it's so easy to get lost in this social media news and vaccines, and I'm offended by this and this and that, and it's just like I want us to refocus on what's really important, because when you're on your deathbed, when you have like a death scare, you're not going to care about a lot of those things, right? So how do we help people? How do we teach people? And that's something that I'm doing with my team right now.
Yeah.
Is This is something that I've been devoted a lot of my time to. I don't know how lucky I was just born lucky in a way where I have certain tendencies, or my personality gravitates to certain things, but learning and bettering myself and self growth has just been a part of me.
Yeah.
That's why Kodawari resonated with me.
Yeah.
That's why our brand is revolved around the relentless and uncompromising pursuit of growing, of learning, of just trying to figure out life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
What's the point of all of this if you can't, like, you don't have a better understanding of life?
yeah,
Right. Like we're all just on this journey, and it comes and goes very quickly, right?
we're all just
And
winging it, man. We're
yeah,
just trying to figure it
yeah,
out.
yeah,
And how do we come together and help each other? And I know, if you want to do good work, if you want to achieve all these dreams of yours, just like you said, that foundation of how you eat, how you sleep, your routine, your
it
discipline,
all starts with you.
it starts with that. How and then you give yourself a best chance to go out and take it on the chin,
Yeah.
because life's going to give you
Oh yeah.
15, 20 of those
Totally.
per day, per week.
Yep.
And if you don't have that good night of sleep, if you don't have some time to reflect on the decisions you're making, and you're just kind of wandering aimlessly, you're gonna get chewed up, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna hurt,
Yeah.
and it might lead you down a path of doing work that you're not proud of.
Yeah.
And I've been there before. I've
Yeah.
rushed through things, and I
Yeah.
recently recalibrated myself and reflected and be like, what am I rushing towards?
Yeah.
Like where like what is where's the meaning
Yeah.
Because you talked about like, okay, you know what? I'm trying, like I was successful, right? I doubled my sales, but the year it just it wasn't there wasn't as much meaning, there wasn't as much happiness as you would think. And you would think like everyone chasing, hey, what is success? Oh yeah, I can double my sales. I have more money, more more options to buy stuff. But like, is that important to me? What like does that get you out of bed in the morning knowing that, oh, I doubled my sales? And for everyone it's different, but you got to figure that out for yourself.
Yeah, like I've always looked at money as a tool to facilitate further pursuit, whether that be, actions, business opportunities, whatever money does for you. Um, having having money to do things is no doubt very, very important, and it is what we trade our expertise for. But it doesn't stop with your bank account, right? Because clearly, having just said that I had doubled my sales over last year, I didn't feel any better. I didn't feel any happier, right? I definitely was looking and I'm like, all right, this is great. What's next, right? You don't just stop there, but you have to find what makes you happy, and it's not money, right? It's not money. It's not fame. It's not followers. It's not how many people are like praising you online. All those things are great. They make you feel good for a little while. You get your little rush of dopamine, but it like I'm here for the long haul, and I've always said that about my business, and that mindset is definitely something that is very ingrained with how I try to live my life. If I screw up, I try and rectify it. Um, Breaking those habits and breaking habits of things that don't serve you. That's sort of like the next thing for me is just like honing in on my mindset, honing in on my diet, honing in on trying to exercise more and all that good stuff. Just trying to get back to things that made me feel happy as a person before I had what I have.
Yeah.
Right? Like going to the track in buying an S2000 and driving an S2000 and going on vacation this and doing that. Like those are all great in the moment, right? They all do something for you temporarily. But you need to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and feel happy about who you are, right? And just I think this year for me, or this upcoming year, is just going to be a continuous recalibration to facilitate that, right? Because if I'm out there helping people and mentoring people and training people, and running my own business, I want the best for my efforts. I want the best results, and a lot of that comes down to knowing that like time, you don't know how much time you have. Like time flies, so make it count, right? And just taking a step back to try and recalibrate so that everything you do is just a little bit better, a little bit better, little bit better, right? So that's kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah, no, that's man, we could spend like
This is
like 2 hours
yeah.
talking about just that topic,
Yeah.
and it's something that obviously very resonates very well with or resonates with us, and something that we would deeply care about. So we're gonna jump into a quick break, and then we'll be back.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're back.
What's up?
We left off with you talking a little bit about how
How running a business sucks?
oh
No,
yeah,
I'm just kidding.
some days you're just
Some days
Some
it
days you're
freaking
just like,
sucks, man.
what am I doing?
Like yesterday.
How did I get to here? Right? Yeah, there were many days, and I'm sure you know. Many
Yeah.
days, right? It's like
Pick and choose your battles, man.
Yeah, but it's
Can't control everything.
that's what makes life beautiful, is having those days. So then
Yeah.
the other days where you're kind of just cruising in your car and you have time to take off to go come and do a podcast. You gotta win some, take some and lose some, right?
It's all good fun at the end of the day.
But yeah, no, we were talking about
Mindset.
you like your mindset around what makes you happy, what success is to you, and it reminds me a lot about a point in my life that was right before opening Kodawari.
Yeah.
I was very successful doing running my business, and I could buy whatever I wanted.
Yep.
I was working very long hours. I was working very hard, and
So you had your own business before this as well?
yeah.
What,
So
what were you doing?
we were selling like packaging supplies, so
Oh,
like kind of like a
okay.
wholesaler, right?
Okay, right on. Are you still? Is that still operational?
Yeah. I'm not. I have my hands out of it, and
Okay.
someone is running it for me.
Okay.
But because I had to step away from that,
Right.
the business is obviously like dwindling, and it's gonna eventually phase out.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I was, the money was good, and I could buy whatever I wanted. I didn't have to think twice about that, and
Yeah.
I got to a certain point where I was like, this doesn't do anything for me at all.
Anymore.
Yeah, anymore. Like this, I've always been someone that whatever I wanted, whatever I set my eyes on, I got it.
Yeah.
So at a very young age, I wanted to buy Gundam toys.
Yeah.
Went out, started doing newspaper delivery at 13. As soon as I was 15 years old, coming on to 16, got my first job right away.
Nice.
Tim Hortons,
Yeah.
grinding away.
Yeah.
I moved out and found my own place as soon as I wanted my independence and right. And I've been working ever since. And
Good for you, man.
it's facilitated and it's allowed for me to have all these nice things.
But you see how like your journey, like I said this the last podcast. I'm like, where you are at this point in life is where you are supposed to be, like this very second, and it is always leading you to the next step. So instead of worrying about what's next, and I'm guilty of doing this, we all are. Instead of worrying about what's next, just maximize what you're doing now and enjoy it, right? Because you will get where you need to be. Like here you are reflecting on your past, right? And like what I'm hearing from you is like work ethic, drive, determination, setting goals, right? And getting them done, right?
And yeah, like I did that all through my 20s. Yeah. I just did my thing, and I got to a certain point, like right when I was just about to become a father.
Yep.
Right when Anderson was about to be born, and
He's so cute, by the way. He was talking to me this morning.
yeah,
Melted
he's,
my
he's
heart,
grown
man.
he's
Oh
grown
my
quite a
God.
bit. Eh?
And he
Oh my-
pronounced my name so well too. I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's cute.
Anderson, like he has been a shining light in our life that I can't even like my words cannot even. I would never thought I would love someone so much. Like I love my dogs. My pugs mean everything to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, there's no way you can top that. I love Sherry, and that relationship is special too. And then here comes
This little man.
a little part of you, and just seeing him grow up was it's been wonderful. But yeah, like I said, I was up through my 20s. I was just grinding, making money, just buying shit, just buying all the like gaming and cars and stuff like that. And at a certain point, I kind of looked around and I was like, man, I can't see myself doing this
Yeah.
for the next 5 years. I don't want to do it anymore. Like I don't care about the ability to afford all these things. It just doesn't have meaning.
Yeah.
There's no meaning behind it.
Yeah.
And we are so blessed in this day and age to be able to connect and share stories, right? Because that's how humans connect.
Yeah.
Emotionally.
Yeah.
That's there's. I think of a quick example of Drive to Survive, that new Netflix series about F1.
Yeah.
Right.
Love
How that series has opened the door to the general public, to the mainstream of what F1 is all about.
Yeah. I didn't even really watch F1 or get excited about F1 until I watched that series. And I'm a like huge car guy.
And how were they able to do that? It was because they were able to tell the human stories behind that.
Stories, yeah.
So, I'm someone who loves automotive content. Like it's just watching guys like I grew up watching like Chris Harris do car reviews.
Yep.
Just watching these guys live these lives where they're driving the coolest cars in the world, and they're having a blast. That's the best part, you know. Like the thing I like most about Chris Harris is that he is who he is, and before he jumped onto BBC and did Top Gear and became all like, you know, what that show was all about, it was just him and his boy flying around doing their own content, and it was amazing. I remember this one GT3 RS. They had just released a 991.1 GT3 RS, and he was driving the lava orange one on the countryside.
Talking about.
And then after that, he went to like Porsche's own test track, and then he jumped into a purple one.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And the amount of fun and the authentic experience that he was having, it was just like, I was smiling from ear to ear watching that video, and I was like, look at this guy, what he's doing. How do I get that? How do I reach that point in my life where, you know, you're so excited, whatever it is that gets you excited, how do you figure that out? So I was like, I was also getting into like the weeds with YouTube and watching like Obsessed Garage and watching his journey and him sharing his journey, right? Matt was, that's a big part of his brand, is saying like, hey, this is what I was doing before. I was doing finance before, and I was making big bucks, and I hated it. And then he made that pivot and that leap of faith to go after something that was unknown and that didn't have there wasn't any blueprint for. It's nothing that school trains you for. Nobody teaches you how to do these things. You just have to do it. And seeing him do it was like, okay, this is my opportunity.
This is the path.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I don't want to be on my deathbed with the regret not knowing that I'm not trying. So
totally.
I looked around and I was like, you know what? I love cars. I'm not a detailer. And now that I reflect back, when I was younger, I loved detailing. But I got away from it. And I tell this to my team all the time. I was like, when I was younger, my dad used to say, hey, now, like, we recently went over to see my dad, and he's like, pointing out to Sherry, he's like, you know, when Nau was 3 years old, when he was Anderson's age, he had already started showing signs of his curiosity and his the way he gravitates towards organizing stuff. My dad was saying how you used to line up all the shoes by the front door. From everyone that came in, you would always pick up their shoes and line it up nice and neatly. And, you know, I grew up in a household that was very organized and clean. It wasn't crazy, but my mom and dad kept things clean as best as they could.
Good order.
Good order. You know, considering they were immigrants and they were like juggling like full-time jobs and 3 kids, they kept the house in very good shape. And that was a little glimpse of who I was right there. You know, because my brothers and sisters, they weren't like that.
That's the gratitude to parents that you only develop as you get older. Where when you start to understand how those little things, they mean big things.
And then it progressed into when I got older, and my parents, I was on summer vacation, and they would leave for work, and I always kind of really gravitated towards. I saw how hard they worked, and my relationship with my mom and dad was like, I just wanted to make them happy, and they would leave for work in the morning. And while my brother was playing video games all day, I was cleaning the house all day. I was cleaning the kitchen. I was organizing all the chemicals. I was sweeping the floors. And I would just do that just so that they would come home. And
they didn't have to think about that.
They didn't have to think about it. You know, I would cook the rice. I was always in the kitchen helping my mom. And it was just a part of me. You know, and...
Are you the oldest?
Youngest.
Yeah.
So... You know, like this is a recent realization where I'm like, when I sat down and I thought to myself, I'm rushing through life for what? And then how do I focus on things that are true to who I am as a human being, as a person? And there are a few things, you know, like I've always valued relationships. That's friendships and talking to people has always come easy to me. I know not everyone is like that. My sister, when I talk to her, I always get so excited talking about, I want to go see my cousins over in Europe, and you know, I'd love to meet them and make friends with them. And my sister just gives me this funny look because she's like an introvert, right? She's like, wow, you're so different, because like I have no desire to do any of that. I would be very happy just at home with my family doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, everyone's got their own thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And relationships, organizing, designing, cars.
Yeah.
Those are like the four pillars
Yeah.
that make up who I am.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? How do I create a
It's
life?
very clear to me that like I would never think outside of that with you. Like those four things are definitely true to you.
And then now that I'm doing this thing with Kodawari,
Yeah.
I'm realizing how these dots are connected.
Mm-hmm.
And now,
But that's the thing, man. Is like that's when you realize that where you are is where you really are supposed to be.
that's it.
Right?
That's it, man. That's
Like,
crazy.
I think about that too with myself, and I'm like, man, like when I was younger, I used to do a lot of like weird OCD shit, and I see how like that's helped my business to be successful, especially like honing in on the work. And sometimes I think about like if I were to close my shop one day and just go out and start training people, like I've got it, because there was like these little like qualities that I developed when I was younger that become such a huge part of you, that drive your mindset and drive your actions, that really allow you to be very successful. And it's kind of a liberating feeling, because and I don't know how it is in your family dynamic or your community type of culture, but for me it was like, I talked about this in the first podcast, like you got to be a lawyer, a doctor, a dentist, blah 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 blah, accountant. I'm none of those things, but I'm happy, right? And I don't want to be I don't want to be chasing those things if it doesn't mean anything to me, right? So, I've taken those little things that I've developed as a person from those young formative years, and you use that to you use it to your advantage, right? Just like how you're doing, just like how I'm doing, and it really helps to define who you are. And once you understand that, then you become more willing to learn from other people. Like I'm sure you've learned things from David, from Steven, from Sherry, from Nick, like every single day.
Every single team member, every single person that I come across,
Yeah.
there's something that I take
Yeah,
from that.
yeah. It's the same thing with me. Even sometimes, like I meet customers, and there are people that just give you that vibe, like they understand, and you just want to learn about them, and that's one of the things that I love about this business and this like what I have is I get to meet a lot of people from different walks of life, and it's so interesting. Like I absolutely love it. And you become very tight with those people, because they themselves see something in you that is very very curious, right? And just wants to learn and understand.
Yeah, we just gravitate to certain things, and having the right mindset is so important. I tell the guys everything, like Kodawari is mindset. Like
Yeah.
everything that I teach you guys, everything that I try to impart with you guys, if there's one thing, it's not the detailing, it's not the cars, it's your mindset.
Yeah.
And that foundation, that lens of which you use to view the world, you can take it anywhere you go, and apply it in any which way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But as long as you have the right foundation, that's all that matters. And then if you decide to move to China tomorrow, if you decide to move to the Bahamas, you're gonna have to learn a new language. Mm-hmm. But there are some core principles of how to be a human being and how to take on life. And a lot of it is not new. There have been people struggling with this for thousands of years, and it doesn't take much to flesh out these principles of like, yeah, you know what, your ego. Everyone's had to deal with an ego. How do you
work with it?
How do you work with it and live with it in a way where you're not shooting yourself in the foot?
Exactly.
Where you're not blinding yourself to to better things, to growth, right? Yeah. If you think that you're the greatest detailer, and then every single person that you meet who is a detailer, and you're like, man, what do I need to learn from this person?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm already so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's you're gonna learn pretty quickly that that's not a good way to
learn.
And to get to go through life, right?
Yeah, I see it a lot now, like in the detailing groups, because so many forces, so many factors have led people to open a business like this, and you see it. You see the early stages. Like sometimes when I see people post like a question in the group, I can almost guess down to, you know, the years that they've been open for. Just because like if you've been around for a while, like, and you're patient and you let things happen, um, you get answers to these types of questions very quickly. And it just really speaks to the whole idea of keeping your mind open and being willing to learn, regardless of, you know, how old you are and whatever. Like when I talk to some people and they're like, "Oh, you've been in business for this long? Oh, you must know this, you must know that." And I just, no, I don't, because I found my niche, right? You ask me about detailing an interior, I can do a good job, but down to like specifics or like specific types of jobs where you're removing like biohazards and stuff, I don't know, because like this industry is so vast. Like, yeah, people think car detailing is just like your basic in and out. Like that's what most people think. Yeah. I don't blame them, but there's so much to this business that is just waiting for you, right? And a lot of like when I talk to like younger business owners and they're like, I want to do interior detailing, I want to do paint correction, I want to do ceramic coating, I want to do tinting. I sit back and I just tell, I'm like, it sounds like a mess to me. It really does, because you're coming into this new, and it's great, you got this drive and whatever, but um, uh, take it slowly, right? Don't feel like just because you're not like for me, I would love to bring in tint one day, like in house, maybe even learn how to do it. But I want to hone in on what I'm already good at first, right? So that once you've developed your customer base and they're like, oh, like when people found out that I brought PPF in house, my existing clients, they're like, they didn't even think twice. They're like, well, if he's as good as he is with like wet sanding, paint correction, whatever, I don't see how he would do a bad job with film. And that was nice to hear. I didn't make the connection before. Now I understand, because people who are bringing their cars to you, they see your mindset, right? They see your character, and they know that even if the job doesn't come out that great, you will not stop until you're happy, right? So telling these young guys, or just people opening their own business, um, make sure you hone in on what you're good at. And if you're not good at something, either just make the decision to not do it anymore, or seek help, right? um, because the help is out there. There's somebody out there that is always going to be better at something that you're not that good at, right?
Yeah, and it's also like it's not just black and white like that too. It's also,
Of course.
it's also like you have the question, am I not good at it, or am I just hitting a wall that I need to overcome?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Like I hate doing in interiors. Like clients call me all the time and, hey, how much to do an interior? And I just stopped doing it. I just flat out say I don't do interiors, because it's not something that, one, it's not something I enjoy, and two, I feel that I can give my clients a better version of me doing what I'm really good at.
yeah,
Right? Or doing what I enjoy.
it's almost like that.
And you should have that choice, right? It's your business, right?
Yeah, but it's scary sometimes to make that choice, especially
sure.
as a business owner, because you're like, I'm turning away.
Well, I have that liberty, right? A lot of people don't. I didn't have that liberty when I started. I built my business on interiors, yeah, right? People were like, "Holy shit, look what that guy did to that interior," and I was really proud of that. But once I discovered like polishing and, you know, all that good stuff, that was it for me.
And there are some guys out there that love interiors.
Yeah.
That's their
Yeah.
that's what they enjoy doing. It makes them so happy, and
Yeah.
you can see it in the work that they do.
Yeah.
So you just gotta find what you know, what's your what's your thing?
Yeah, exactly.
And man, over the past year, we've tried a lot of goddamn things at Kodawari,
Yeah, I know.
and we're still
See.
figuring it out. But
Yeah.
we're getting there, and we've definitely
It doesn't happen overnight.
fall flat on our faces, and it's like I'll bring up one example. We've been doing a lot of cars for like a dealership, yeah. So Airmail Zacra,
Yeah.
you know, we have a
Yeah.
good friend there. We have great relationships with them over there,
Yeah.
and they were short on detailers, and we came in and we helped out, and it was a great boost in just work coming in for our shop,
Mhm.
because we still are a new business,
Yeah.
and it was easy for me to make the decision to, like, you know what, where this is money coming in right now, like we got to make time for this.
Of course.
And
For sure.
and the guys were happy doing it, but then when we kept doing it, and we were just slogging away, and you know, like we were heading there as a team, and
Yeah.
you know, we had, you know, Sherry came there sometimes, the content team came over, and we were just
Yeah.
like detailing cars, and some of
Yeah.
these cars were like hammered.
Yeah. Good old lease returns.
Yeah, and at a certain point, I looked at my team, and they were just
They were
unmotivated.
done.
They were just like now, how much more of this do we have to do, right? And it was easy for me to be like, yo, guys, this is life, you know, like you don't always get to do what you want to do, you know, like sometimes it takes time to build up to get to
Yeah.
working on the nice cars, working on your craft, right? So as a leader, I was like, how do I teach them with this experience, and not just be like, oh, you guys want to just PPF? Okay, here, let's just go in PPF. No,
Yeah.
there's building a business from the ground up. You gotta put in the grind. You gotta put in the work.
It's just like people that work as like a regular job. Like sometimes when I talk to my wife, and you know, we have this conversation a lot, we both agree that there are going to be aspects of every job, everything that you do, there are going to be aspects of that you don't like. That's life, right? Like I feel like society in general is just becoming so averse to things that make them uncomfortable and challenge them to grow.
Yeah.
If people were to just see what's on the other side, I feel like they may be a little bit more open to that, but that's not how life works, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got to put in the time, you got to put in the effort, you got to feel uncomfortable, and I think like it all comes down to like grit, right? We're willing to tough it out and learn in the process.
But see, this is the thing. No one teaches you these things. And we're just recently, like, I'm stumbling on these things, and these core principles, and this foundation of like what it means to grow as a human being. And in school, they don't teach you a lot of things that are very valuable. They teach you a lot of like other things, but when I think back about education, I think back about like what I struggle with. I'm like, oh man, so much of that is like was just never taught.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you don't want to do, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't want to do. And for me, it's like numbers, the finances. Like I've never enjoyed numbers. I hated numbers.
I failed every single numbers course.
Yeah.
At least once.
Because my dad was like a numbers guy.
Yeah.
He was like a physics teacher back in Vietnam. He was just like, he's a wizard with numbers.
Yeah.
And I remember just like sitting there doing homework with him, and he'd be like asking me these questions.
And you're just like,
and I'm just like, the pressure, man. Holy, he was like, this is so simple. You okay?
Bloopers. Good?
He would ask me these questions, and he would look at me. He was like, why don't you get this, right?
Yeah. What's wrong with you? No, I'm just kidding.
And I'm just like, I felt so like stupid.
Yeah.
Because I don't, it just didn't come, it's not a strength of mine. Some people naturally gravitate, and they just, you know, it's easier for them. For me, other things are easy.
Yeah.
And math was just not something that was big on big on the strength side. But
You know where I learned this? At least for me, like I'm gonna touch back on your school and your education thing. Where I think for me, where I learned this sort of like, we'll call it grit, was sports. I grew up playing a shit ton of soccer. We used to travel around like around Ontario for rep teams and play. Um, and then for me personally, like I always wanted to play forward when I was a kid, because you get the glamour and you get to score the goals, and my friend's dad, who was our coach, and I used to be mad at him when I was a kid because I was like, he knows I can play this position. Why is he playing me here? He would play me midfield and defense. Now when I look back on it, like I understand and I respect it, because those positions required certain skills that I was just really good at. So like for example, playing on defense, like you got to be able to run quickly, adapt, adjust, change direction very fast, and attack. And I was good at those things, but I didn't see it in myself, right? And then once then it got into basketball and soccer and running. I did a ton of running, and running was interesting because like you have no choice but to keep going. And then when I got into my like when I was like 11, 12, 13, developed asthma, and then I like the best way to deal with that is to just build your tolerance, right? So I think for me mentally, I've always been kind of like building my tolerance, because I've had no choice but to do that if I wanted to perform, right? So yeah, it's really interesting. Like it all ties back earlier to what you're saying about like how you are in your formative years, how it really impacts you and your mindset.
yeah, and did your parents impart that on you, like that drive to?
The education part, yes. Like my mom is a teacher, so there's a lot of pressure as well to the son of a teacher needs to be getting good grades, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and like with my dad worked a lot, but he was always there to kind of like, facilitate like the sports and supporting at home, stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, it's always interesting to see how like our parents have an influence on us, and
Yeah, and then
yeah,
that transfers back into the business.
yeah. Okay, we're gonna jump into a quick break. All right, guys, we're back.
What's up? What's up? So now is usually the one asking me questions. I'm the guest here, but I feel compelled to talk to you actually because well, you guys had me come in to do some PPF training. Was it February? I think we did the S2000. That was when I had that terrible root canal or that tooth extraction, and then that turned into a fiasco. That was so bad. I'm still scarred from that. But yeah, I hate the dentist. But so you guys have had, what is it, 9 months now of just PPF and just um, installing. So how's it been for you guys? Like how has it been, one, from a paint protection film journey, and two, just what have you guys learned in the past year? Like is there anything that um, is there anything that really stands out to you?
So,
Let's talk about the film first.
we started off with, um, training with you,
Yeah.
and the guys had made it very clear that this is something that they want to pursue
Okay.
as a craft, as a career,
Okay.
and we did the S2000, and then we eventually started doing other things on our own. So yeah, what stands out? It's building a good foundation of like process,
Yeah.
having the discipline to stick to those processes,
Mm-hmm.
even when you're tired, even when you're running late,
Yep.
is so important.
Yeah.
Um, we've definitely, the guys have shown a lot of growth, man. They're still very, very passionate. You know, we just over the summer they wrapped the entire FK8 with the Varus kit.
Oh wow, that's good. That's good.
Um, so
They've learned quick. Like I've noticed, like when I look at what you guys are doing, I think they've learned quick.
yeah, yeah, they've definitely have shown a lot of growth, and that makes me so happy to see them grow like that.
Yeah.
And there's so much more. It's one of those things where like as soon as you dip your toes into like this field,
Mm-hmm.
you understand how much further you have to go.
Yeah.
And that could be very daunting,
I,
but
I,
very
I feel
exciting
the same way
very
too.
exciting at
Yeah.
the same time,
Yeah.
because it's just like that progression is, it brings a lot of fulfillment, right?
Yeah.
So we've definitely, like we've done a lot of projects, you know, whenever there wasn't any customer jobs,
Yeah.
you know, jumping between like body shop work that we've been working with like a body shop nearby, our own clients that are coming in.
Yeah.
It's been definitely challenging for the guys,
Yeah.
but they've we've had a lot of, you know, we've connected with other installers in the area. So like Mike from All In Detailing, he's been so kind to us. You know, we've been running over there using his printer. He works with Expel, and he as an installer, he's very efficient, very efficient, and the amount of work that he pumps out is crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been pretty interesting to see the guys progress, but I'm still trying to figure out how to set them up for even more growth. Right, I'm still trying to look at it as like, how do I help them grow even more? Like,
Yeah.
what am I not doing well? Where do we have to grow as a company and as a team that services and takes pride in this, right? So
I think a lot of that just comes from just doing more work, right? Like doing more work is the test, right? It's like handing somebody a test and say, let's see what you know, see what you don't know, and let's learn from there, right? So for you, I would just focus on trying to get as much work in, right? And make the guys understand that like it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to screw up on a panel, like as long as you understand what went wrong, right? And make sure that the standards are always high, right?
yeah, and I knew that we were at certain points we're trying to run before we can walk, and one thing that I knew that we needed to focus on and build, and we've been struggling for a very long time, is building the right culture here. It's incredibly hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard because you have so many different personalities.
Big time.
Everyone's got different schedules, and how do I set the tone? How do I take ownership of that and build the right foundation if we're gonna be chasing being world class?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that started off with just reflecting back on the things that are immediately in front of us.
Yeah.
How we take care of the shop, how clean we are, how disciplined we are with putting away our tools, cleaning our workspaces,
Yeah.
prepping for the day. That's something that we, you know, coming into work on time. Oh man, like for the longest time, we were struggling with just getting the team
Here on time.
here on time.
Yeah.
And I was like going bananas. I was like, Jesus.
I remember
like,
you telling me, yeah.
I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know. How do I?
Well, you started even talking about like implementing like even consequences that would be personalized to the person so that they actually mean something to them, right?
Yeah. No, I remember we had
And that's
that
tough.
discussion.
Like you almost feel bad for even thinking about having to do that, but that's the unfortunate part about being in this position sometimes is being, I don't want to say the bad guy, but being that guy, right?
So there were, we touched on this earlier, where it was like,
Yeah.
okay, what's right in front of my face right now is like, okay, we're not being punctual.
Yeah.
It's so I can't look at it at just that. I'm like, what is the root cause of this?
Well, yeah, because it helps you to understand. Like it takes your judgment off the person, and it turns it into understanding and almost a bit of compassion too. Sometimes for seeing like, why is this? There's something wrong. Like, are they having trouble going to sleep on time, or, are they drinking coffee at like 9:30 at night, and then they're wired till 2 in the morning? Like,
Yeah. That's
right? Because you're working to help find the solution to the problem instead of focusing on the problem itself.
Yeah, you're just not like, oh man, you've been late. So like, I really take pride in trying to start with kindness and start with empathy
Yep.
first,
Yep.
and being like, yo, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
is something going on at home? What's going on with your life? And let's work through this together. And I need you to figure this out on your own, because I can't answer everything for you,
Exactly.
because then there's no how can you build confidence in yourself if every single time there's an issue I swoop in and I'm like, here's the answer.
Yeah.
Right. I gotta try and pick at the right angles.
And that's only an answer off of what you know, right? Sometimes people that are dealing with problems don't even understand what they're dealing with.
Yeah, that brings
Right.
even more complexity to it.
And that's why, like, sometimes just dealing with it from a compassionate standpoint, I mean, it can get you far, right? It's not always going to be the answer. Sometimes people do need a smack in the head, so to speak. I'm not saying to do that, by the way. But yeah, man. Sometimes you just gotta meet people at that level where they feel that they can talk to you, right? And that's a
And
sign
that's hard
of a
too, because
leader.
it's uncomfortable.
Well, and part of the problem is sometimes people are not receptive to that because they only see you as their boss, right? One thing for me that I tried really hard was to like just make anyone that comes to work for me understand that we're in this together, we're in this journey together, and you are along for the ride with me. We are a team. Any problems that we face, we're gonna face them together, and we're gonna, like, it's not like I'm sitting there and I'm like, I have a stick. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, hurry up. It's like, hey, let's figure out a way to make this go faster or go easier or stuff like that. Like, I know when I had my guy come in, like, I invested a lot of time and money into just figuring out ways to make things easier and less stressful so that there can be more time and energy spent on dealing with more work, right? Because then you're not wasting time on things that really don't matter or don't transpire into more drive, more things learned, more jobs through.
Yeah, that's something that we definitely struggled with, is just completing things in a timely manner.
Yeah.
It's kind of tricky because I'm not doing the work. I'm kind of just overseeing it,
Yeah.
and I know the fundamentals, I know the core principles, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to help navigate these waters with them, because everything we've done here is really new to everyone. This podcast, detailing, PPFing, me trying to manage a team,
Yeah.
trying to build a company with a detailing side on top of like the media side. This is
Yep.
has been like 2 years of falling flat on your face like every
Yeah.
other day. So
Yeah.
I'm constantly trying to look at it like, how do I help these guys, right? Because that type R project, it took us almost 3 weeks to do.
Yeah.
It's a very hard car to do, but
It's a pain.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a pain.
lot of
But
intricate stuff.
they
They did a good job.
we managed to make it for the show.
Yeah.
And how do we just look at it like as a way to get better? And how do I set those guidelines for them where it's like, okay, this is the industry standard. This type of car or this job gets done in this
amount
time.
of time.
So
Yeah.
at least I know it's going to take us time to get there, but at least we have an aim, right?
Yes.
I can't just let you guys just comfortably go at your pace.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's been my struggle, is being strict with the entire team about deadlines, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm the one staring at the deadlines every single day. Rent has to be paid, bills have to be paid,
And employees have to be paid.
and I can't be. It's very easy for me to play the victim card and be like, oh man, like these guys aren't doing this, but I always try to pull myself out of that mindset and be like, okay, where can I take ownership and what am I failing to do?
Exactly.
Right. And a lot of times it is, like going back there and being like, guys, I need this done in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like get it done. Right. And to see them fluster through it and see them fail, like, but that's where they're going to grow though.
That's what the learning is, right?
Yeah.
That's
why I'm always asking you, like, Kaval, what do you think? Because you know them, you train them, this and that, right? How do I, when we look into the projects for the day, how do I be like, okay, guys, I need this done by lunch. I need this done by 3 p.m.
Yep.
How do I inspect this afterwards?
Yep.
What's our process for inspecting it? How do I keep like a standard of quality? And on top of that, how do I communicate with the guys like, yo, this is how you grow.
Yep.
And I'm only trying to help you, and don't look at me like the asshole, right? Yep. Because if you're afraid of the discomfort and if you're afraid of like feeling flustered and pressured, I'm like,
you're gonna have a hard time.
That's gonna be tough. Very tough for you here because Kodawari is all about growth.
Yeah. And
I have such big dreams for each and every single person here.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do I help you get there?
It's an interesting perspective because you're coming at this with like a lot less experience doing the actual work, and I'm coming at it having like I do everything.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very interesting to see how those like they transpire. Like, do they ever meet? Right. It'll be very, very, very cool to see because like I've taken cues from you that I've seen you do with the guys too, just to kind of to keep in mind with guys that will join the team. And it again ties back to just like if you want a good culture, like for me, it was always about hiring for character, not for skill, because there are so many facets to this type of work where you can find a place for somebody. It could be marketing, it could be sales, it could be interior detailing, it could be polishing, it could be applying coatings, doing PPF, doing tint. Like, there's so many things, right? But at the end of the day, if you have good character and now you add like 4 or 5 guys on the team and they're all good people, it's all good, man.
And I think to run alongside that idea is also, do they have good character? So like you have to define what you're looking for,
right?
What you're looking for, what your values are as a company, and if that person, if they're, I hear this all the time, the really, really talented people, sometimes more times than not, are not a good fit.
I've heard that many times. I don't have any experience with that yet, but I have heard that.
Yeah, so like you're so attracted, you're kind of you're gravitating towards, oh man, this person's so good, right? But if they're not a good fit, then it's going to be very detrimental to your team chemistry in the environment.
I had to do that with myself. I had to do sort of like an audit on myself to be like, I'm really good at what I do, but how am I as a person? How am I as a leader, right? Because I'll always equate it with being in school. I remember my introductory accountant course. The guy was an accountant, a very good accountant, but he was a freaking awful teacher, like terrible professor. And it's just like, how am I supposed to learn off you? Oh, great, you've got all these like accomplishments in your career. Great. Well, it doesn't mean anything if you can't help me get there, right? It doesn't mean anything if you can't help me learn the content.
It's like he's got to be able to see it from your lens. If he just sees the world from his lens and he's like a genius, then what good are you doing to anyone if you're just like, oh yeah, this kid should know this formula, he should see the world exactly how I see it, and then we're
just gonna end up with the same people. That's not what this is about, right?
So,
it's really interesting then to see how different people learn and how you can foster that.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. And I definitely, every single time, a story that I always kind of like to share with everyone about teamwork is like, you think about the Navy SEALs, you think about the best teams in the world, and there are a few characters from that world that I've listened to, like Jocko Willink.
I love that guy.
And he's such a badass, and he's trained the hardest men in the world, and he's been through so much, and he's they have like buds. I think it's like the 2 week training period, 2 or 3 weeks, where they put these new recruits through like the toughest training conditions to kind of see who's got the grit, who's got what it takes to make it to one of the most elite teams in the world. And you ask all the trainers and all the OGs that are running that show, and they're just like, yeah, the guys that make it aren't the strongest, aren't the most talented. You have the athlete guys that come in that are like star athletes on their football team.
Yeah.
Or you have guys that are like shredded to oblivion, like they're just 0% body fat, just like they look like they just been molded out of like a superhero. And they're like, those aren't the guys that make it.
Yeah.
He's like, the guys that make it, the guys that get through the most mentally, physically exhausting 2-3 weeks of their lives are the ones that look to the left and look to the right of them and use each other, use their sense of teamwork. Like, I don't want to let this guy down. I don't want to leave my boy hanging. I'm gonna I'm gonna dip into this well that I didn't know before was there, because I want to make sure that we get through this together. And it was those guys that were able to mentally fight through it, because a lot of times it's a mental battle.
David Goggins is a great example of that. When you hear about that it was a 100-mile run that he did, and he had no training for it. Fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, that guy's next level, man. This guy talks about like running so hard, so far that he was like shitting blood. It's he's
not supporting that by any means.
Yeah, you definitely don't have to go that far, right? But it's just like, it's a mindset.
Yeah,
it's a mindset, and we're big onto doing great things, and as human beings, I think you can only do really, really great things if you do it together. And that's why we've been really trying to figure out ways to really build a culture around that, and that in this past year has been a lot of that.
Yeah, I've seen you guys really start to come into your own as a team. It's apparent even from the outside, so that's good. How about like the guys on the team? What sort of hobbies and things do they want to pursue that you could help them with? I mean, they're all car guys, I assume.
Yeah, not everybody is a car guy.
Is Nick a car guy?
No, Nick came in here curious about cars.
Yeah.
And it's flourished and blossomed into something really cool, and it's because of our culture here. We were very open to sharing our passion with him. As soon as he came through the door, it was like, yo, like you can feel it.
Yeah.
When you walk in through the door, like what we're all about. So that it goes back down to the environment. If he were to come into another shop where they were like pretentious and be like, we're not going to give you the time of day, then that might have gave him a really bad experience, and he might have like not explored it further.
I agree. Yeah.
But he came here, and we were like teaching him, and he saw the passion amongst ourselves, and that's definitely blossomed into that. But in terms of everyone's like interests and what makes them unique, I'm still learning day to day. And it's funny that you bring this up, because I I actually just recently finished an exercise. I don't know if you know Jordan Peterson, but he has an exercise called the Future Authoring Program, and it's it's an exercise that forces you to kind of look at where you want to go, the direction that you want to go.
Okay.
Okay, and he how he explains it is that human beings, we are creatures of aim.
Yes.
You need to be aiming at something so that when you walk through life, when you go day to day, you notice certain things that help you get to that aim. If you're just aimlessly walking through life and then life throws 100 shots to your body all day, and you're just reacting, it's just really hard. Right? Like life is really hard in that way, and you're just taking those blows, and you're gonna get beat up, and eventually you're gonna just start building resentment and getting bitter, and just becoming a shell of yourself. So he's a trained clinical psychiatrist. He's also a genius in the way he's able to break down these thoughts and these very complex ideas of what it means to be a human being into layman's terms that someone like myself can understand. So I've talked to the team about this on many occasions, and for a good chunk of this year I was kind of in a rut. I felt like I was in a rut. And I kind of stumbled upon Jordan Peterson. Like, I always knew of him because his name's come up a lot in kind of like the people that I follow in terms of like podcasts and books and stuff like that. But his message never really resonated with me. But it took that rut that I was in to kind of stumble into his content and then really absorb it. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I'm like, Jesus, like this is exactly what I needed. And it goes back down to like, you're exactly where you need to be.
Timing.
And stop fighting it all the time.
I was fighting myself a lot this year, and I think towards the end of this year, even now, I'm really starting to become a lot more compassionate with myself and be like it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, you just, again, focus on what's in front of you, and things will work out the way they are supposed to for a reason, right? This theme keeps coming up, man. It's really something that I think maybe in a future podcast we can just go through some examples of things that really drive this point home. I think in the future I might even do something like this on my own, where I really start tying it all back together and get even, like, I've been actually thinking about this for a while, to start a podcast featuring like business owners in the automotive industry, at least here in Canada, Ontario, and not talk about necessarily what they do, but how they do what they do, and what are they thinking when they do it. Because you've got people like, what really interests me and what drives me is, like I said it earlier, like when I get clients coming in my shop from all different walks of life, and you get to learn about them. It's the same thing like that, except they're a business owner. I want to learn what it is for them that makes them successful, how their journey in life has been that has led them to where they are, and I think that alone will hopefully inspire a lot of younger people to get out of their head and understand that, like, life is not perfect. Life is hard, but life is also great, and you have to have patience. Like, I think one of my biggest things that I'm thankful for is that I am a patient person, and I understand that, like you will be shown the way. It takes time, right? And that can be said for nearly everything in life. That's just how it is. Like, it takes time to understand why things happen the way they do, and to reframe things that maybe have happened in your life. I'll give you an example. My dad got a puppy. So our puppy recently died, unfortunately, and but instead of focusing on all the fact, the fact that he's gone, or he lived such a short life, he had so much left. I'm looking at it like, what did he do in the short time that he was here, right? And he was with my dad. He got my dad out every day. They walked between 10 and 15,000 steps every day.
Yeah.
My dad's 70, I think he just turned 73. He's in very good shape for his age, and it's because of those things, right? Like, you got to focus on the good, learn how to reframe things so that you get to a stage of appreciation and gratitude and love. Once you get there, it's forward, right? A lot of people are stuck in a rut because they're missing those things, right? So yeah, hopefully get that started soon, maybe in the new year or something, and then I can get you on it. We could just hash out things like this, like, oh, this happened, it seemed pretty shitty, but look what came from it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna jump into a quick break.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny when we were kind of talking about your podcast and what your future might look like off air, because you said, I don't know if I was gonna if I want to talk about it on the podcast, and you know, it's one of those things where, like, you say you're gonna do something and
Yeah.
you don't follow through with it, so you
Yeah.
kind of beat yourself up for it. But at the same time, you can reframe that, right?
Mhm.
It's all it's having that ability to reframe and just be like, you know what, maybe I am gonna talk about it, because I'm gonna put it out there, and you know, hopefully my friends and the people who support me will remind me, like, yo, this is what you want, right? Are you gonna do it?
Yeah.
So I do that a lot with my team, and sometimes they see it like, oh, now he's just going off and he's just saying things and he wants to do this, doing that, and he doesn't follow through with all times. And
Have they looked around?
and a lot of times it's true, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I tell
But it's
them,
perspective too, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not thinking like
Yeah.
you are.
I'm like, I try to explain to them, like, you guys may see it that way, I don't see it that way.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a balancing act. I can't go and say, like, shoot out 100 things and only do one thing, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I sometimes I fall flat on my face and I look silly too. But the path that I'm headed on, I'm gonna look very stupid a lot of times, because you need to look stupid before you can, you know, start excelling and doing well. That's just part of the process.
You need to walk before you can run, right? And when you're a baby and you're trying to walk, guess what? You fall down a lot, right? It's the same thing.
But yeah, no, just hearing you talk about potentially starting a podcast, that
I'm pretty excited.
That makes me really happy, man, because
I think it's going to be good. But we'll see. One thing at a time. I think for now, I'm just gonna, like, for the rest of the year. What are we in now? November 19th. So for the rest of the year, I got a lot of, like, clients just kind of waiting for me to get their cars in, and then towards the new year, I think I'm just gonna kind of, like, take everything back in inventory and see how I can make this happen. I think space is just going to be one of the, I guess, challenges into actually getting it done and recorded. Yeah, and then we got our website to finish up. That's going to be pretty sweet. I'm really excited about that, because I think like, we're doing something that I don't think has been done yet. And I guess all will be revealed in time. It's been a long process. I've been working on this site on and off for the last, I think, year or so with my designer. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, yeah, you guys have been working on the site for a while, and it looks great.
Yeah, it's just honestly, it's all on me now. I just haven't had the time to get the last parts done. Like, we just have to do, like, all the content and building out the menu, because I'm gonna be making some pretty big changes to the way people acquire jobs from me, because, like, the way I am is, like, I'm very a la carte. And I think a la carte suits my business model, because everybody's coming to me with a different thing. But primarily we do a lot of new cars and PPF, and I think it's very easy to just put together packages that are well defined and easy for our clients to to understand. I mean, they're very easy to understand now, but just from a presentation standpoint and a branding perspective, I think it's very important because as my audience and my clientele kind of expands and grows, it just becomes a lot easier to compare and stuff like that.
Yeah, we've been in the process of like restructuring our entire website too.
Yeah.
I actually sat down and went through like all our packages all over again.
Yeah.
And something that I'll definitely bounce off you to
Yeah.
get feedback
Yeah.
as to what you think. But yeah, it's finding the time to do those essential things that really move the needle forward in a big way is something that I still struggle with.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been very guilty of that too. I think I need to give myself a bit of a break, and that's kind of what I've been doing the last 2 weeks. You know, my wife and I went to Mont Tremblant for a week. That was incredible. I like really needed that. You come back, you're refreshed, and you're like, all right, how do I reframe what's in front of me, and how do I make it work, right? So
Yeah, but you know what? How about this? I'll share with you that exercise
yeah, I'd love to
because
see that.
it's super cool and essentially what you're doing is you're listing off like what you want out of your life,
Mm-hmm.
and you're kind of like forced to think about it. So the
Mm-hmm.
questions that come up kind of help encourage you in that
Okay.
direction, and then you set 8 goals
Mm-hmm.
for yourself, goals of maybe skills you want to acquire,
Yeah.
things you want to do,
Yeah.
and then you break it down as to how you're going to get to these goals. And
Okay.
it actually asks you, okay, how often are you going to check in on yourself to see if you're doing this or not?
Yeah.
What is the metric to
To measure.
measure
Yeah.
if you did this or not?
Right.
Are you leaving it very vague? Are you
Mhm.
not?
Mhm.
All that stuff. So I ended up doing it in the morning. I made it so what I want my entire team to do it,
Yep.
because the goal with this exercise is that we're on this journey
You
together.
got to grow together.
I need to know where you're aiming.
Yeah.
If you just want to work 9 to 5 and have your weekends off,
Mhm.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Let me cater the
To that.
workload to that. If you want a GT4 RS, you want to be the best PPF installer in the world,
Yeah.
your work better reflect that. Your plan better reflect that.
Yeah.
Don't think that you can get there just by working on 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So my team has to determine that. I have to help show them like where I'm headed. So I have 8 goals listed out, what I want to do, what's important to me, what my values are, and then I broke it down, ended up writing 11,000 words.
Nice.
And yeah, it was very valuable. And now I'm going to take that exercise.
It's like a business plan for your life.
Exactly. And then I'm going to take that exercise and then I'm going to have the entire team do it so that I
Nice.
know more about
Then,
what's important to them,
Yeah.
who they are, and
Yeah.
because everyone's different. Everyone
Super
has different
important.
goals. And then at the same time, it's going to allow for us to have better chemistry, better relationship, a better team overall if I understand these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was wonderful. And then now that I have an idea of what I want, and things will change, and you kind of make adjustments
You're
here
always
and there.
evolving, right?
But I'm going to take all these like rough notes because you're just kind of roughly jotting down what comes to mind. Like you're not thinking about grammar or like sentence structure or this and
Yeah.
that. But I'm going to take that and then carefully script out what the perfect day, what my life looks like in 10 years from every detail. Where am I waking up? Who am I waking up with?
Yeah.
What am I doing that day?
Yeah.
What does my career look like? What does Kodawari look like? What does my relationship with Anderson and Sherry look like? And this was another exercise that I listened from another podcast with Tim Ferriss and Debbie Millman, and she had her design students, and she's like an iconic designer.
Nice.
And she had her design students go through this exercise where they're like, okay, in 10 years, you design your whole day from top to bottom.
Yeah.
From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. What does it look like?
Yeah.
And her students have had crazy journeys where they're like, man, because I wrote this, like I put it out there, and then slowly, as you're going through your day to day, you start aligning with things that get you there. Yeah. But if you don't have that aim, if you don't have that goal or that vision, then you're just aimlessly going through things, and you're kind of like you don't know how to say no to things that don't matter. Yeah. And you're just saying yes to everything. Yeah. But when you have that aim, you're like, you know what? I said that my relationship with my family is important, and that's a goal of mine, which means that when my boys come and ask me to hang out, maybe I say no more often than not this time, because if I keep saying yes to going out all the time, then I'm not really
watering the grass on that side.
Yeah, right. So
yeah, I completely agree with you. If you don't put in the time and you don't understand where you're going, it becomes very hard to define where you want to be. Like half the time, people don't even know where they are at this given time, right? So it's this whole thing keeps tying back to like self reflection and stuff, and it's very, very cool. And like I said earlier, like we don't spend enough time looking within to see what's going on, to see if we're truly happy. And the more we neglect to do that, the more we reach to external things for like our happiness, our validation. Like, don't people want depth in their relationships? Don't people want depth in their relationship, even with their clients, right? Like, like I love getting to learn I love getting to learn about people who are putting food on my table, right? It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and it's a lot of these things that we don't like we're learning, and a lot of people don't know because they've never taught. And it's very easy for, like, you know, I listen to a lot of Simon Sinek, and he's like, yeah, it's easy for you guys to all like the baby boomers to be like, these millennials, they don't know anything, you know, like they're just like this and that. Well, guess what? Who raised them, right? That generation raised them. Yeah. So now he's like, this is how things are right now. This is what this generation struggles with. Yeah. What are we gonna do about it? You're gonna complain about it, that these kids are, you know, they're too much in their comfort zone and they can't even like look at someone in the face and have a conversation because they're just staring at their phones? Or are you actually gonna do something about it?
Yeah, it's interesting because like I think there's an element of, and there's no blame being put anywhere here when I say this, but I think like some of it is like our parents' desire to give us a life that was better than theirs, and they've certainly done that. But then what's happened with society and culture is that we've, at the same time, things have just become more accessible, a lot easier. Like, people have a voice now, and you know, like, it's incredible. Like, you can buy something. Like, I could just, while I'm on this podcast here, I could go on Amazon and order something and maybe have it by the end of the day. Like,
things are
that's insane, right? Like we have become, in a lot of ways, we have become very transactional with how we view things, including our relationships, and we just need to get back to understanding that like these things take work, they take time, they are investments, right? They are investments, and where do you want to invest your time, which is your currency, right? So and hopefully podcasts like this sort of like can jumpstart, you know, that sort of journey, right? Like I'm no further along than maybe you or anybody else, but like if we don't think about it, nothing really starts, right?
Yeah, well, Simon Sinek is like, you know what? He says, well, guess what? This is the situation. This is what we're dealing with. Yeah. You can either complain about it or do something about it. Right. So he's like, it's your job as companies, as influencers, to take on these kids and teach them about these things that they weren't taught. So whether it's the psychology of like reflecting on yourself and knowing what's important to you, or finding out what's important to you and finding more meaning in life, and more so than all the likes and all the superficial stuff, because just like with things in the past, these things come and go, and then you'll be sitting there trying to figure out why it is the way it is, why you had your ladder leaned up against the wrong tree.
And it's not like people are out there saying that like they can't learn or anything like that. It's just about adapting. I think even for like our parents' generation, perhaps in some way they were sold a dream that like this is how it is, and they were never given the understanding or been provided with the expectation, and it's not their fault. It's no one's fault. Like there should never have been a mindset where like this is how it is, this is how it's supposed to be. Because if that's the case, when you think about like when you grow up and they're like, oh, you need to be this, you need to be that, you need to do this occupation. Like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if you were to ask someone, are they going to be earning a living doing podcasts, like say like Joe Rogan, or like Rich Roll or Tim Ferriss or and any of these big guys. You asked somebody 15 years ago if these guys would be making money just sitting here in front of a mic,
Yeah.
and they would say no. So the whole landscape in which we find purpose in our life, and also get paid for it, has completely changed.
Yeah.
And with that, our mindset and our perspective also needs to change too, right? So I think there's a lot of I agree with Simon. There's a lot of things that need to be adjusted, but it doesn't happen overnight. Like it's going to take a long time.
And that's why we do this, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the purpose, that's the meaning that I've come to learn that is very important to me.
Yeah.
Running a successful business, enjoying all these cars, it's meaningless unless I get to do it with others. It's meaningless if I don't inspire others to better their lives. Yeah. Not just acquiring more cars, but like learning more about yourself and self-growth, right? So that's why we've kind of stumbled on this platform, and it's something that is just a beautiful part of my life now. Sitting down and having this conversation with you, having a conversation with every single guest that comes through this door brings me more joy than any Ferrari or any GT4 RS ever will. Yeah. And that's the truth. Yeah. So
I mean, a GT4 RS would be pretty nice.
Oh my God, yes. Can I do a podcast in a GT4 RS?
Yo, that would actually be pretty cool.
Right?
Yeah. But I don't know how much talking we'd get done.
There'd be just a lot of like grunting and like moaning, right? It might sound a little weird, but
I don't know if it's the right platform.
But like the way it shifts, you'd be like, oh my God, like it would
planted back into the seat.
Yeah, but that would be fun. We might have to do that.
Yeah. I always thought it might be cool to like do a podcast while driving. But I don't really know how that would be, like how to isolate all the road noise and things like that.
Just you'd have to have a really good sound engineer because people would not want to. It'd be interesting. Yeah. It'd be interesting for sure. Yeah. But man, it's always a lot of fun having you here. We're obviously
it's always good to be here.
A lot of our values line up, and you've been a big part of our journey so far, so can't begin to express to you, how grateful we are to have you, part of the collective.
It's nice to be part of this.
I hope you're proud of the guys and where we've gone in the past year.
It's been nice to watch you guys. It really has. A lot of what you guys are doing it's nice for me to see, because a lot of what you guys are doing are things that I would be doing if I had a team like this too. So it's very nice to see, and in a lot of ways I get to live through you guys.
Who knows, man? Well, you said we spoke on the phone one time. You were like, man, like, what if the next step in my life is, shutting down the shop and just teaching, and moving up to live with my dad and to live a little bit of a simpler life. Maybe I'm a teacher. Maybe I transition into the podcast thing, and that's something that I've always kind of shared with you, is that Kaval, you definitely have that's definitely a strength of yours, is teaching. Your ability to explain things, your ability to kind of look at it from that angle, I think is something that you should consider. So I definitely believe
it's at the forefront of my thoughts with respect to where I'm going in the future. I still love Make It Shine. I still love what I do and all that stuff. But there are other things out there that I think I need to look into. It's not to say I don't know if I'll close down the shop. I think that would be really hard for me to do for my customers, because there's a lot of people that just I've established such strong relationships with, where they just it's like a mechanic. When you find a good mechanic that you just know and you trust, there's like zero stress, right? And leaving your car with somebody.
What about if you opened up like you said something about moving up with your dad, right?
Yeah.
And opening up like maybe like a garage
Yeah.
and maybe doing, like it's
Like
making
if I
those
found a
making those
land,
adjustments,
yeah,
right? Like
like if I
just
found a
maybe doing
property,
this 3 days a week,
yeah, yeah.
and then maybe spending the other 3 to 4 days that week doing the podcast, teaching,
But
creating
that's the beauty of all of this, right? Like you get to shape it however you want.
exactly.
Right? Like the week that our puppy passed away, we went up and we spent the week with my dad. Like, and I told my dad, I was like, when I was younger, and I used to really wonder. I was like, man, am I doing the right thing? And like being like family's like way up there,
Mm-hmm.
and everything else is like here, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that I can always go up there almost whenever I want, you can't trade that. That's like you can't buy that,
Yeah.
right? And that's why like I'm so grateful for this, because I get to I have everything that I want. Like I that's it, right?
It goes back down to like this is nothing new. Like all the ambition that we have chasing all these shiny things and these dreams and aspirations, and I have
Doesn't mean shit,
and
man.
I have so much like
Yeah.
it's such a big part of me. But I've always kind of, and I'm paraphrasing this quote, was like, like a smart man learns from his own mistakes, right? A really smart person learns from other people's mistakes. And if you look at all the successful people in the past, people like Jim Carrey, people like Winston Churchill, and very successful. And what does Jim Carrey say? He says, I wish everyone could taste what it was like to be at the top of the world and realize that it's not what you think it's cracked up to be. And Winston Churchill was like a president. He was so successful. Like he was like regarded as like the nation's like, like hero. And he did so many things. He wrote like books, and he was like just so productive for his entire life. Just like changed the whole world with being part of the Second World War, something like that. And what he said, he leaves like these little Easter eggs for us, and he's like, all the accomplishments aside, my family was my most important accomplishment. So we're all human, and I get caught up in like, oh man, I have so much stress of doing stuff for the business and getting stuff done and checking off these boxes and then whatever. And then I look at Sherry and I look at Anderson. He's 3 years old and he's right in front of me, and he's not gonna be 3 for much longer. And we have like a birthday party coming up this Saturday, and I was like, you know what? I told Sherry, I was like, I can't make it. I gotta do stuff for the business. I gotta do stuff for the house, and I was like, we're already going to dinner tonight with my family, so like that's our family time. But I was just thinking about it this morning, and I was just thinking, I'm like, he's gonna be at Chuck E. Cheese, and it may not seem like much, but seeing him light up and me being there to witness that, I think is a memory that is worth
For sure.
saying yes to.
Yeah.
So we're going to Chuck E. Cheese, man.
Sweet.
We're going to Chuck E. Cheese and spending time with my friends and family there, and understanding that these things will come. Kodawari will come. There's no fighting at this point, and just understanding when to say yes to certain things and what's really important. Having that aim, having that plan ahead of me. I'm like, okay, you know what? Part of my goal was to be the best partner I can be for Sherry, to be the best dad I can be for Anderson.
Yeah.
If that's my aim, then why am I saying no to this? This family outing. Right? It's like the other aims were building Kodawari as well, but like it's always that gray area. How do you navigate that? It's always like this very perplexing situation, right? And life is full of them. So you kind of just have to check yourself sometimes.
Totally.
Bounce ideas off friends. Sit down with your homies and be inspired. Yeah, figure it out, right? Because we're all just I just recently bought like a really cool book, and I'm gifting it to a bunch of the kids and stuff like that. And it has a lot of really good like life,
Little tidbits. Yeah.
like little Easter eggs in there,
Yeah,
right? And there's one page where it's like, man, we're all just kind of winging it. So don't be so hard on yourself when you fuck up, when you make a mistake.
Yeah.
And if you can start there, then everything else becomes a little bit less abrasive.
It's very easy to drown yourself. And I feel like for me, I've drowned myself for a very long time. And like, oh, you should be doing this. Oh, you didn't get that done. Oh, you didn't get that done. It's like, oh my fucking goodness. So now I don't know what it was. I just pressed a button in my head. I don't know. I don't just cleared out all the shit that was there. I was like, man, one thing at a time. Stop being so hard on yourself, because when you're that hard on yourself, nothing gets done, and it just gets worse, right? So, yeah, just remember, guys, like, are you are you working to live, or are you living to work? And choosing one over the other is not necessarily a bad thing. It just depends what you want out of life, right? And for me personally, like I want like ultimately it's about my life, and work is a part of life. And it's not to say that I don't care about my business or I don't care about my customers. I certainly do, and my customers can attest to that. But my customers will also attest to the fact that there is much more to life than just working. And I think you're making the right call, taking the little guy to Chuck E. Cheese. Like I listen to my wife sometimes, and we're in our mid 30s now, and they have such great memories of going there, right? And that's many years ago. So starting it off is good, man. Starting it off is good.
Yeah, it should be fun. Should be a fun weekend.
Yeah. So
that's it.
I think that's it. I think we're gonna wrap it up, and
Yeah. Do you want to share your handles as to where people can find out more about?
So my business Instagram is Make It Shine Detailing. If you're interested in checking out my sort of like car stuff, I've got the EK hatch and now the S2000. That is Make It Shine _EK. And I just started actually a little photography sort of page. That's another thing that going back to this whole like doing things that make you happy and whatever. I've always liked taking pictures. So sometimes when we're taking pictures of cars at the shop, there's just some pictures that they just look really good, or I just really like them. So I started an Instagram page for those pictures, and that is makeitshine.photo. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Maybe there'll be a podcast page too.
Yeah, there will be a podcast
Make
page.
It Shine podcast or something like that.
I was, we're big on community here. We're big on teaching. So I have been talking to Kaval about potentially doing some winter workshops in the winter, right? Just because it's cold doesn't mean we kind of stop doing our thing. And I think it would be cool to kind of do a workshop, teach people who might love working with their hands, who have been fascinated with PPF and want to learn, and that would be pretty cool. So I'm putting that out there so that at least you guys can hold us to something. So Kaval has a podcast. We're gonna try and do some workshops here.
Not there yet, but we'll see.
But we'll check back within. We're definitely gonna do around 3. So maybe in the next quarter, and we'll see how far along.
Why don't we do this? For those that are watching this on YouTube or whatever, Spotify, if there's anything that you as listeners want us to talk about on the next podcast, post up in the comments or send Nau or myself an email, either or a message on Instagram. We'd love to talk more about this stuff, because as these podcasts continue, there's only so much that we can continue to discuss. But if you guys have any sort of questions or anything like that, it would be a great opportunity to be able to answer them.
Yeah, and if you guys can also chime in on if you think I should keep this mustache, that's I'm open to feedback.
It's caught my eye many times. I think it suits you, man. I think it suits you.
Yeah, and so we're also. Yeah, we're raising money for men's health awareness.
Yep.
Definitely talking about a lot of those things is something that we're going to get into.
I think a lot of this podcast was kind of really mental health related, right? So
Yeah.
good theme for the month.
Yeah.
Good theme for the month.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
So
What's this on the table here? Is
Yes,
this,
1,000. Yeah, you've always wanted.
remember I used to say one day? Holy shit, that day's here.
You were asking for my silver S2000. I'm giving you my silver S2000, bro.
Thanks, man.
That's
man.
that's
I really appreciate that.
yeah. That's how much you mean to me, right?
Oh. Oh. Thanks, man. This is actually really nice. I guess the hard top was an extra like $300 or something like that for the model, since they're $1 million in real life. S2000 tax is real everywhere. Holy
Yeah. Oh
jeez.
my goodness. All right, guys.
Yeah. Okay, guys,
Hope you guys
thank you.
enjoyed that, and we'll see you in the next one.
Take it easy.